Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, the one and only Agent Shambly, and today I have a very special video for you. Today I'll be reviewing not one, but two games. Aladdin on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Both these games came out around the same time. This one came out first on November 10th, I believe. This one came out November 23rd, I believe, or 21st, one of the two. But they are completely different games. This one's more action heavy, this one's just more your basic platformer. But which one's better? We'll find out soon enough. But first, a little history. Capcom developed the Super Nintendo game. They did have a license to exclusively develop Disney games for the Nintendo consoles. So Sega went out and got their own license and had Virgin Games develop their game. But they went a step further and have the Disney animators help develop their character models for their game. And it really shows. Oh, and fun fact, Shinji Mikami, yes, that's Shinji Mikami, was one of the designers for Capcom's version. Pretty cool. I'm going to start with the SNES game because it was the first one that I've ever played. I remember being 6 years old at my grandmother's house, and my two older cousins rented Aladdin for the Super Nintendo from Blockbuster. Man, I miss Blockbuster. My other cousin and I were watching them play, and I was instantly intrigued. The game looked really fun to me, and after they finished it, I got my own opportunity to play it. And I sucked. But I was 6 years old at the time, so I'm going to cut myself some slack. I wouldn't get another opportunity to play the game until about 3 years later, when I was old enough to rent games for myself. I got the game, played it, and realized that it wasn't how I remembered. Not that it was bad or anything like that, but I thought it had some of the features that the Genesis game had. See, between 1993 to 1996, I played Aladdin on the Genesis on more than one occasion. My older cousin and I even beat the game at one point. I knew the games were different, but what I think happened was I saw some of the elements on the Genesis game and I thought they were on the Super Nintendo version. Like the graphical style and the ability to use a sword. More on those later. But anyways, during that time I craved to play the SNES game again, and when I finally did, I was kind of shocked that it wasn't how I remembered. However, it was still a very fun game to me, and when I finished it, I felt it was better than the Genesis game. Did my opinion change? Well, you'll find out later. The Capcom version plays like your basic platformer. You run from point A to point B while jumping on enemies to defeat them. You also have apples in your arsenal. And you can throw them to stun larger enemies or kill smaller ones. The enemies themselves consist of your basic city guards, bats, scorpions, pots with chicken feet? Yeah, that's a weird one. But you do have Iago as an enemy later in the game, which is pretty cool. The game's main collectibles are gems. You collect 100 of them and your health will increase by 1 heart. Speaking of health, collecting loaves of bread and whole chickens will increase your health if you take damage. Other collectibles include a heart container that will increase your health by 1 heart, a cloth that you can use to glide, and is borderline game breaking. Seriously, you can skip platforming sections entirely if you have enough gliding space. And finally, there are golden scarabs you can collect that will give you a chance at a bonus game. The stages themselves consist of Agrabah, the Cave of Wonders, the Collapsing Cave of Wonders, Genie's Lamp, a pyramid for some reason, and Jafar's Palace. I do like that every stage is broken down into multiple levels. Like Agrabah consists of 4 levels total, while the Cave of Wonders only consists of 2. Almost no level overstays its welcome. Except for one. The pyramid stage is long, annoying, and boring. The moving sand really aggravates me. I always get killed at this platforming section right here. The enemies are advanced so they will attack you at a faster rate, and it's just too slow paced for me. I always wondered to myself, why is this level even here? Seriously, if you watch the movie, there's not one moment where they go inside of a pyramid. I guess it was an effort to prolong the game, but if you're going to do that, then why not have the Sultan's Dungeon instead? Or a desert level at least? My favorite level, on the other hand, is Genie's Lamp. I love the vibe it has. The bright colors, the music, and the animations the faces make on the moving platforms. It's like they're actually concerned for your safety. They even get distraught if you die, which is a nice added touch. The game's graphics are pretty good. The character models are okay for the most part, though some models do look pixelated, the game's backgrounds on the other hand look superb. I love that you can see the entire city of Agrabah and the Sultan's Palace in the background on the rooftops level. The game's music is okay. They do have a great rendition of Friend Like Me, and I like how the Agrabah stage music is a mix between One Jump Ahead and Prince Ali. And then, there's a whole new world. I'll be honest with you, as iconic as the song is, I never liked it. I hated it as a kid, and while I can tolerate it now, I'm still not a fan of it. So what did they do? They give you not one, not two, but 3 damn versions of the song. One is played during a special bonus level with Aladdin and Jasmine flying on carpet as you collect gems. The second is played during the game's ending. And the last one is played during the end credits. But I will say this, they are well done renditions of the song. I just don't like the song. And finally, I like how the game tells the story. This game's presentation is excellent when it comes to its storytelling. The little cutscenes they have between certain levels and the scenes they have between stages are well done, especially the animations they use for certain scenes. At the end of the day, Aladdin on the SNES is a good game. For a basic platformer, it does everything well. It's easy to pick up and play, and it does a good job following the story. Mostly. Pretty good stuff overall. So yeah, overall, the Super Nintendo game is a very good game. But how does the Genesis game fare? Well, we'll find out. I noticed that quite a few people owned Aladdin for the Genesis. It is the one I played the most as a kid, and looking back at it now, I can see why everyone owned it. This game is awesome. Let's start from the beginning. Aladdin for the Sega Genesis is an action platformer. Unlike Capcom's version, you now have a sword in your arsenal, along with apples of course. And the sword makes a huge difference gameplay wise. A lot of the enemy encounters can turn into mini sword fights, and the coolest thing about it is that the swords can actually clash. I always love that added touch to the combat. The sword can also deflect knives that are thrown at you by enemies. The apples can be used to kill most enemies, this time large and small. One neat little detail is that if you throw an apple at an enemy with a knife, they can actually slice the apple. Gotta love the small details in this game. Oh, and for the record, you can do the same thing in a Super Nintendo game, but I didn't get any footage of it. Sorry. The game's collectibles consist of hearts that will replenish your health, genie tokens that will grant you access to a bonus game, and a boo token that will grant you access to a boo's special stages, and gems you can use to buy extra lives and continues from the merchant you can find in most levels. The levels themselves are all places that were in the movie. There are 10 levels total, and unlike the SNES game, they're not divided this time around. Yes, that means there are less levels, but honestly, it's not a bad thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love for this game to also consist of 19 levels, or even more than that. But 10 is a healthy number. The levels themselves are a good length, and it really helps that the level design is top notch. Yes, there could be some cheapness here and there, but not enough to really complain about. I also like how some levels will give you certain objectives in order to progress. This usually consists of collecting flutes in order to ride a magic rope to the next area on Agrabah's rooftops, or destroying statues to unblock pathways in the Cave of Wonders. And of course, certain levels will contain a boss fight. I'll be honest, the bosses are pretty easy in this game, the toughest being the final boss, which makes sense, but even that fight is pretty easy. But I guess they can be kind of hard for newcomers. I don't have an actual favorite level per se. A majority of the levels I enjoy equally. However, there are 2 levels that I don't really care for. One being the Sultan's Dungeon. The pace is a little too slow compared to how fast the pace the rest of the game is, and these exploding skeletons annoy the hell out of me. But you do see Sebastian from the Little Mermaid just hanging around in the background, so that's pretty cool. The other level I really don't care for is Genie's Lamp. I don't like the platforms that cause you to sink, and the hand platforms can cause some cheap deaths. There are only 2 things I like about this level, the music and the Genesis you see in the background. Actually, let's talk about how the game looks. Honestly, this is one of the best looking Genesis games ever. It looks like they ripped the characters out of the movie and inserted them in the game. And to this day, it looks impressive. Credit goes to the Disney animators that helped with the game's character design. Their hard work not only shows with how the characters look, but also with their animations. They're as smooth as silk, and I always get a joy in seeing them in motion. The only flaw I can think of in the graphics department is that some of the levels' backgrounds can look pretty bland. It's not super distracting or anything like that, but they could have looked a lot better. As far as how the storytelling is, it's told with still pictures while the game explains what's going on. They do put a little spin on things during the first quarter, but then it starts to follow the rest of the movie beat by beat. I will say this, the still pictures are fine, but I think Capcom did a much better job with their story presentation. You can clearly see the time and effort they put into it, and while Sega's presentation isn't bad, it does kind of look like it was slapped on last minute. Granted, it does have a couple of cool animations, but at the end of the day, it just feels rushed. And finally, there's the music. What can I say? It's spectacular. Now, as a kid, I always hated booting up the game for one simple thing. Yep, A Whole New World is the song chosen for the title screen. And I hate it. But after that, the music is, as I said before, spectacular. Aladdin is my all-time favorite when it comes to its songs, and the game does a great job at recreating the movie's music. Arabian Night, epic. Friend Like Me, superb. Prince Ali and One Jump Ahead, excellent. Even the game's original music is great. Even though they weren't in the movie, it sounds like they would fit just right in. I love the Cave of Wonders track, and the Collapsing Cave music is a banger. Excellent work by Tommy Tallarico and Donald Griffin. So yeah, as you might have guessed, I think Sega's Aladdin is so much better than Super Nintendo's. But that doesn't mean the SNES game is bad. Like I said earlier, I did enjoy the game overall, but Sega's game just knocks it out of the park. The gameplay, graphics, and music is so much better on the Genesis. Nintendo does have Sega beat in terms of the genie level, storytelling, and the final boss fight. But when it comes to the most important aspects of the games, Sega wins hands down. With that being said, both games are fun and deserve to be experienced. I recommend playing both and judging for yourself. Who knows, maybe your opinion will differ from mine's. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun. So yeah, overall, I believe the Genesis game is far superior to the Super Nintendo game. Both are fun at the end of the day though, and my opinion did change. I remember growing up, I liked the Super Nintendo game more, but when I got older, I played the Genesis version again, and I soon realized that this was the top tier game of the two. But like I said before, both games are fun, both are worth trying. Go ahead and try it, see for yourself. Your opinion may differ than mine. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Remember, this culture is for everybody. Let's keep things fun for everybody. And before I forget, don't forget to follow me on twitch.tv at +UltraAdrian. I've been streaming a lot lately. I've been streaming some Final Fantasy. I'm doing a lot of RPGs over the summer. So be sure to check that out. We have a lot of fun on stream. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day.